Okay, let's get right into this. So here's the basic thing that you need to know. The Social Security Fairness Act is important. A lot of you guys don't know what it actually does, and we're going to cover that tomorrow in another video. But in this video, we're going to talk about why it might have some difficulty in the Senate getting passed. Now, the House just passed it basically yesterday-ish, and now they're punting it over to the Senate. Now, one of the things that I need you to understand is that I went through, I looked it up, I saw how it was doing in Congress, and I have some concerns about how this thing is going to actually do going forward. So we're going to talk about the benefit boosting potential of this act and how it's going to change Social Security benefits for a lot of people in the millions. But also we're going to talk about specifically why this bill is going to run into some problems in the Senate. So some of the basic first things you need to understand is that this bill, when moving into the Senate, has way fewer sponsors / co-sponsors. You know, when you look at the House, that thing had over 300 co-sponsors. When you look at the Senate, it has a total of co-sponsors, statistics, 62 current, includes 23 original. And here they are. There's just not that many co-sponsors in total that are actually on this thing. And there's a little bit more. Here's the last page. But the point is, it doesn't have as many co-sponsors, whereas the other in the House had way more co-sponsors. And that's important. That tells you where people are putting their nickel down right up front. Now, point number 2 as to why I think this bill might have some difficult times in the Senate. The Senate is more aware of the cost of things, whereas the House tends to pass things that are of the will of the people. So putting it a little bit more bluntly, when you look to the Senate is more budget oriented. They're looking at the long-term effects of a structural financial choice, whereas the House, you know, they got 2 years in there. You know, they're like, hey, let's do what the people want. If we make the people happy, they'll vote us in it again after our 2 years. So I think one of the problems is that this particular bill puts the trust funds in a bit more danger going forward. And as a result of that, the big problem is that if you look at how senators traditionally vote, they're going to see that this is going to make those Social Security trust funds run out sooner, you know, specifically the retirement trust fund, which is already in deep poo-poo as it is. So the bottom line is this: they're going to be a little bit worried about putting more things on top of that Social Security retirement trust fund to make it run out even faster. Now, point number 3 that I want to go through is that senators are more likely to play politics where they will let something fail if a transition of power is going to occur. So that the future passing of that bill, if it were to pass, right, will be under their party's president. Now, what do I mean by that? Senators are very smart about the long game, right? They got the 6 years in. They got a lot of time to be sitting in there. They're in there for the long game. So their main focus that they're looking at with this situation is whose party gets to benefit for passing this particular bill. Because remember, Social Security benefits, specifically the third wheel, or what they call, the third rail, is that politicians are afraid to touch Social Security benefits because at the end of the day, they tend to get fired. They don't get revoted in the moment they talk about how they're going to change it. So the point here is this: when you look at this situation, okay, senators are more likely to say, I don't want to pass it until my presidential candidate is in. Or I want to pass it right now because my presidential candidate is about to be out. So the point is, you're going to be seeing senators play a little bit of games here. You saw the Republicans do something that was likely to kill the bill. Then the Republicans realized, oh shit, people really want this to pass. This is the will of the people because they're bitching and whining. But the bottom line is those House members, you know, they're more likely to listen to that. Whereas the senators are more likely to listen when things get real hot and heavy, when there's strikes, when there's basically, you know, people are out in front of their house, you know, holding up signs and saying, we want this. That's when senators tend to notice, because senators, you know, they're a little bit stand back, you know. Now, senators tend to be more insulated from the smaller chatter of the American people. So when House reps see people talking about it, even online, right, even in like small ways, significantly online isn't required. These House of Representative individuals, they're going to try and get in front of that, get them to agree and get people on board because they want to be voted. And again, if they do what the people want, cool beans, they're in. However, the senators, like I said, they're going to be looking for boycotts, sit-ins, strikes, all that stuff before they really move on anything. Now, the next thing that you have to understand about this bill is that the House of Representatives, they tend to be more willing to give the people exactly what they want because they can, essentially be voted out in a 2-year cycle, whereas the senators have the protection of the 6 years. So the House reps want quick, happy citizens, and bottom line is, the House reps are worried about that getting revoted in, whereas the senators, they play the long game and really just want happy citizens in the final re-election year. But the problem inherent with this situation, and this is incredibly important about Social Security benefits, is that the senators are looking at this situation. What year is it about to become? 2025. If you add 6 years onto 2025, what do you get? Right? That's 5 plus 1 gets you into the new. So you're at 2031. So what does that mean? That means that the senators that are coming in now are going to be right up against when the Social Security Retirement Trust Fund will be depleted. So these senators are sitting here thinking, shit. And they know, these senators are not dummies. They know that the math from the actuaries of the SSA is likely wrong because they know the ability to have proper fertility rates is not going on. Fertility rates are going down. There's not enough people having babies. And so as a result of that, there's not enough workers paying FICA taxes, putting that money into the trust funds to save the retired so that they can get their full amount. What does this mean? It means that instead of 2033-ish when the trust fund will likely run out, it will likely run out sooner, potentially 2031. And if these senators vote through anything that's going to make that trust fund run out sooner, they might have signed their own death warrant situation because nobody's going to vote for them when they voted for something that basically, put it very simply, caused the trust funds to run out and caused retired people to go ahead and massively revolt against them because now they're only getting a check that was 75% of what they normally would have gotten at that point. And if you want to know some quick basic math, it's not perfect, but some quick basic math. Imagine right now, if your Social Security, actually, let's make it easier than that. Imagine 10 years ago, okay? We're going to do it in now terms, okay? Imagine 10 years ago, what your Social Security retirement check was or would be, right? Back in the day, 10 years ago. And then you take that amount and you push it all the way forward to the current day. And that's what you get. You would be livid because you wouldn't have enough money to survive. That's the reality. You'd have to sell whatever you have, sell your home, sell your car, sell your this, sell your that, get the plasma sheets out. You would have to sell everything. So the point is, that's what's going on with this situation. It's a tricky situation. It's a scary situation, but that is what's going on. Now, with that said, I want to go through a couple more things here. Also, this is important, okay? The Democrats and Republicans have been pushing the idea of this Social Security Fairness Act for a long time, right? They've been talking about the idea of eliminating the windfall elimination provision since 1983. And the government offset provision since 1977. So they've been talking about doing this for decades, all the way back to the 1970s. But the first Social Security Fairness Bill was proposed in 2010 by a Republican representative, Howard P. Buck McKeon, who is a representative of California. So when people are like, well, this is new and this is neat and this is, wow, this is cool. No, it's not. The first one came out in 2010 and they've been talking about this since the 1970s. Ain't nothing new here, okay? Next point, around 2.6 million people will be affected in a nice way by this Social Security money boost. Of the 70 million plus recipients that currently receive Social Security benefits. As a result of that, more on the ground House of Representatives, they tend to be looking at how to go ahead and meet the needs of the people immediately. Whereas the senators like to discuss things that affect a larger portion of the population. So if you think about it simply, House of Representatives, they like to go ahead and find the little things where they can make a pretty big difference. Whereas the senators, they like to find the big things where they can make a big or huge difference because they're in the long game. They got the 6-year option for re-election. So the problem is this passed through the House, but I don't know if the senators are going to have an appetite for it, because the bottom line is it's only going to affect around 2.6 million people of the 70 plus million that receive Social Security benefits. And remember, those 2.6 million people that are going to draw on this are going to mess up the trust fund in a small way, but still it's going to make the trust fund run out faster, which is going to make that 70 plus million people a little cranky, a little upset, not too happy. They're going to be very upset. They're going to be tearing things apart. Expect some stuffed animals to get it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, okay? Next one. Republicans originally did something to kill the bill, but then immediately flipped it around and pushed the bill forward. Because in the House, they know that if they go ahead and draw things out by approving it in the House, then the Senate can take time and pass it with good news right at the end of the year, which Trump will walk directly into, which validates Trump being somebody who is part of a good movement for Social Security benefits. Now, with that said, on the other side, Democrats are viewing this as their last opportunity to do something under the Biden-Harris administration for Social Security benefits, since they had a lot of ideas before they took office and didn't deliver on practically most of them. I mean, it's been a real tragedy. The Biden-Harris administration needs a win desperately, and this could be their mini walking out win. But it's all about timing, because remember, if this stuff is occurring and passing through in November, Biden gets the cool vibes put on his robe. However, the closer we get into December, we are going to be seeing Donald Trump getting more of the positivity for Social Security benefits with passing this. Let me explain something. People attack Donald Trump all the time to say he's going to end Social Security benefits. He's not. He's talking about ending certain taxes, which they use as money to pay for Social Security benefits, which looks like from a distance the mainstay way of ending Social Security benefits. But his entire agenda is raise money and treat the country like a company that actually makes money, and then we can change things. His idea, which could work. If he can make this country work better, it could work. That's the reality. His idea is to go ahead and massively use the petrodollar to make American lives better by reducing taxation and increasing basically the standard of living for Americans, because they have to pay less to live in America. It's simple, basic stuff. But the legacy news channels will say, oh, he's going to end it. He's going to destroy it. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He has to have the money and a plan for investments for this country to be able to afford Social Security benefits. But to the mind of a person who does not understand corporations, does not understand the making of a profit and reinvesting, does not understand the principles of capitalism, it's really tough. They have a hard time understanding that you could potentially have a country that is doing financially so well that you then make the retirement age, instead of 67 for the full retirement age, back down to 65. But again, there's counter arguments to that, which have a lot of strength, that Republicans in tendency do not want to see Social Security benefits succeed, in which case they like to see people working all the way through until they basically cannot lift their feet off the ground to get into bed by themselves. So the point is, I've seen all the arguments. We're going to see what happens. It's going to be very spicy. But I don't know if this bill, which will, of course, boost Social Security benefits for over 2 million people, will have a shot in the Senate. It's got political problems. It has financial draw problems. It has issues with the amount of people it's helping. It has a lot of issues that the senators are going to notice. The House of Representatives, they're going to try and push this thing through. But their job is done now. It's been passed in the House. It's now going to the Senate. I'm sure Biden will go ahead and put his signature on it, but it comes down to the senators at this point. All right. I'm going to be doing the next video shortly, which we're talking about my favorite criminals who have committed some amazing Social Security crimes. We're going to go through those shortly. And it's just the ones in November. With that said, please remember to like and subscribe. We only have 106 likes out of the 314 people in here. Let's get those likes up. Don't be stingy with them. I will catch you at the next video. Please remember, on Mondays and Thursdays, I go live to answer questions. Also, if you need a private session, mini contract is below, where you can buy an hour and we go through the issue that you're having. I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night, and we will go from there. Thank you so much. Attorney Walter Hnot. Have fun, and I'll see you in 5 to 10 minutes at the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.